Thank you. Our choir today is small but mighty. Did you know that you are a spiritual broadcast station? Every thought we think, every attitude we have, every idea we hold moves from us outward, sort of like a radio station. You know, if we listen to Shem on the radio, it's funny, there's no wires. Like, how is the sound getting from him to us? But it is. And it's the same thing with us as individuals. When we walk into a room and we feel filled with love and joy, interestingly, people will be coming to us and they'll be feeling similar things. We'll attract that to us. Have you ever had a point in time where you got on the subway or the streetcar and you sat down, you were having a great day, and all of a sudden you were feeling kind of down? Like things got heavy? Could very well be that you're feeling the energy of the person beside you. See, all of us are part of this universe. All of us are in this one divine thing, and all of us are part of it. And when we are energetically feeling low and lousy, interestingly, our life sort of shows up the same way. But when we're feeling really high and good and excited and delighted, that shows up for us. We start to alter the mood of people. I was reading a story by Ernest Holmes, who was the writer of The Science of Mind, and he talked about the fact that he could enter a room and, just love everybody so much that by the end of the day, people were coming up to him going, I just love you so much. So he was giving that love and yet somehow received it as well. That had not been his intention, but that's what occurred. So I want you to think about how you are in the world. Are you coming to a situation with fear and doubt in your mind? Or are you coming to a situation with the idea of loving and being loving? Are you going into your day with an intention of having something wonderful occur? Or are you going into your day with this feeling that somehow it's going to be bad and terrible? We broadcast who we are in each and every moment. In the scripture, we hear from the Beatitudes. I love that, Beatitudes. Be attitudes. Have you thought of it that way? These are be attitudes. And Jesus said, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. When we show up in any situation, blessing what is, blessing what's in front of us, blessing the day and the journey, what happens is that blessing is returned to us. Our be attitudes, as Jesus talked about them, were when we be a certain way, the world shows up that way for us. We experience heaven on earth, so to speak, because we show up as that. We allow ourselves to become what it is that we seek. Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. And it's interesting how sometimes we'll talk about, oh, I want peace on earth, I want peace on earth. And the first person who comes and sits beside us on the streetcar, we think, jerk, and we get up and move. Or we put our bag there so they can't sit beside us. Now, what kind of be attitude are we giving in that moment? Are we being what we say we want? Somebody mentioned to me this morning that sometimes they get on a bus and certain people don't want to sit beside them. And I thought, wow, that's just weird. But think about it for a minute. If we have an idea in our mind of who we like and who we don't like, what are we saying to the world? Is that a be attitude or a don't attitude? And what are we going to get back from it? I was talking to my children when I was on Vancouver Island, my son and his wife. And his wife was talking about, creating this commune kind of thing, having this wonderful farm where they could grow organic vegetables and they could all work together and, they could study these great spiritual truths and all hang out together. And I went, oh, that's fabulous. You would include everyone. Absolutely. I said, so the guy with the Mercedes Benz and the nice suit and the great big paycheck, you're going to let him in? And their eyes got big, and they were like, oh, I said, you said inclusive. Now, inclusive to you means, the guy on the street panhandling, the musicians, people who are, around your age. You're comfortable with those people. But the guy in the BMW or the Mercedes-Benz that's got all the coin that works on Bay Street or wherever, not so much. And they had to stop and reflect. We talk about, creating inclusivity. We talk about creating love wherever we go, but then we show up with a no attitude rather than a be attitude. We show up less than we were meant to be. We were created in the image of the likeness of God. And that is the truth, whether you are a Muslim, a Christian, whether you come to Verity Center for Better Living, or if you go to the Baptist church down the street, or there are churches on every corner around here. We could just go from church to church to church. There must be 15 of them in this couple block radius. So who's right? If we show up with a be attitude, we are not going to exclude the Baptist. We're not going to exclude the person with the Mercedes. We're not going to exclude the person on the street. We are going to include. We talk about being inclusive and creating love and peace wherever we go, but then we exclude certain people for different reasons, and we sometimes do it quite unconsciously. So I invite you to get conscious and create a be attitude. Be love, be joy, be peace, be alive and available, be Jesus. He kind of had a be attitude, didn't he? He liked everybody. He didn't sit back and say, well, I like you because you're in the same religion as me. He was a Jew, but he just was open to everyone because he understood that he was one with God. And that's something for us to reflect on and to think about. Am I one with God or not? And if I'm one with God, is the Baptist one with God? Is the Muslim one with God? Is the street person one with God? It's something to consider. Is God everywhere present, or is God present in my church on Sunday morning? It's something to consider. Do I have a be attitude or do I have a no attitude? It is all about consciousness. When Jesus went up onto the mountain, that's really speaking about a high state of consciousness, and we have an opportunity here to elevate our state of consciousness, to begin to recognize that we see God everywhere we look. And so when I'm looking at you, I'm seeing God. When I'm looking at you, I'm seeing God. When I start to realize that, I can have that beatitude because the person in front of me, regardless of what they're wearing, regardless of their hair color, their skin color, the language that they speak, where they live, how much money they have, it will be irrelevant to me because I will recognize them for who they are. God looking back at me. Now, the truth is we are uncomfortable with some people, aren't we? Got to be honest here. There are some people that make us really uncomfortable. And so we want to take a look at that and ask ourselves a question, why is that? Why do I feel uncomfortable with teenagers? Well, they're loud, they're rowdy, they're expressive, they're calling it like it is, not hiding their emotions or feelings, and some of us get a little uncomfortable with that. Someone might be uncomfortable with somebody who's just recently come to our country and their language isn't clear. And so we're listening, and we have to listen really closely because their speech is not quite there yet. And doesn't that just make us a little uncomfortable sometimes? But just think about that for a moment. What a wonderful opportunity it is because you're forced to listen. Sometimes when people are talking to us, we're thinking about lunch. You know who you are. No. We want to have a be attitude. We want to start looking at life and the world from that place that I am one with God and therefore everyone is one with God. And if God is all there is, then every single person I look at any moment in time is also God. And that changes things. That changes things. You see, I can't walk down the street and walk past a homeless person or somebody asking for change and ignore them. I can't do that. I used to be able to do that. But I can't do that anymore. And even if I don't have money in my pocket, I still say good morning or good afternoon. How are you today? God bless you. I wish you all the best. My daughter said to me yesterday, we walked by a gentleman on the street. I didn't have any change or anything to give, but I chatted with him for a moment. And she said, a lot of people just walk by. I said, I know. But we don't have to do that. We can recognize that this gentleman sitting on the street asking for money is God too. And what is he showing us about ourselves? Is he showing us where we're not doing the be attitude, but we're doing the no attitude? The not, the oh, you make me uncomfortable attitude, oh, you're trying to get my money. What are we thinking in that moment? And it's not right or wrong or good or bad, it's just where we are. And when we recognize where we are, then we can maybe choose something different if we like. It's not about good and bad and right and wrong. It is, how am I being now? Can I be love? Can I be joy? Can I bring my being to this planet in a way that it will touch and impact others? Can I say good morning to somebody that isn't quite like me? Can I touch the hand of someone who's suffering and say, I love you? I'm one with you. Can I do that? The Beatitudes are about how we be in the world, how we connect with each other. Love's the only thing that really is. And how can I love if I exclude? And why do I exclude? See, it's not good or bad that I exclude. It just is what it is. And if I'm excluding someone, I might want to just check in and go, why? Why would I exclude that person? Why would I think that person's less than me? Different than me? Why would I do that? Because I'm afraid? Yeah. That's all right. All of us have those fears. Every last one of us. But we can take a look at that and choose something different. I may have shared this story with you before, hopefully not, but I know I have with some of you. It's my embarrassing story of the no attitude. Traveling through northern Ontario, coming back from Winnipeg, and we were on a reservation, and I drove into the gas station and went inside the store, and there was a native man behind the counter. My immediate thought was, the place will be filthy, and he's probably drunk. And I just about cried. I thought, wow. So I went into the washroom, which happened to be spotless. Sat there for a moment going, whew. Looked in the mirror and thought, wow, I don't really like what I'm seeing right now. Still makes me kind of emotional. Walked back to the front desk and had a conversation with him while I waited for my family to shop or do whatever they were doing. And what a beautiful human being. I got to be with this man who was so sweet, very handsome, lovely person, because I recognized my no attitude and chose to create a be attitude and to learn something from what was going on in me rather than avoid. It would have been so easy to just zip out, get back in the car, and keep driving. Lots of highway ahead. But I knew in that moment there was something for me, and I recognized my training as a child. You see, I was trained to see First Nations people in a certain way. So I chose in that moment to retrain myself. You see, we have the opportunity for that be attitude, and we can be what God created us to be. We can be the love that is there for us to share, to give. We can radiate love wherever we go, or we can radiate fear. Either way, it is creative. We are broadcasting. What is it that we're broadcasting? Are we broadcasting something that heals and unifies? Are we broadcasting something that lifts and sustains? Or are we broadcasting the fear that is so prevalent in our society today? Just a choice. We all have our prejudices. We all have our places where we're not so comfortable. But if we'll look at those places and ask ourselves, am I ready to do something different? Am I ready to elevate my consciousness? Am I willing to really look at myself and stop lying and say, whoa, okay, let me do something different here? Are we ready to do that? That be attitude. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be what it is that you aspire to and bring everybody along for the ride. Look at what it is that distresses, upsets, scares you, and just look at it for real. Turn the light on it. And you might notice that it's really not what you thought it was. It's something very different. And allow yourself to really awaken to that divinity within you, that part of you that is the love, that has never lost it, never changed it, but allows you to be who you were made to be. Through our life, we're trained in different ways. We're taught different things. But as adults, we have a choice. We can choose a new idea. We can choose to think in a new way. We can begin to look at Scripture as a pathway, a yellow brick road, so to speak, that takes us not to Oz, but to the divine within ourselves. It takes us to that place of awareness and understanding where we can begin to look at the world in a brand new way, where we can begin to create a world that is truly inclusive. An inclusive world. Can you imagine? It's kind of hard, isn't it? But imagine for a moment that everybody laid their guns down because why would I kill my brother? That's me. We're one. So why would I do that? Well, all of a sudden we stop fighting over who's going to get the gold medal. You know, it's funny to watch in the Special Olympics sometimes where, one kid will fall and the one who's leading will go back and get him and lift him up and take him across, right? Like, what are we missing that these kids get? Where is it that we're excluding in one way or another? And what would happen if we stopped that? Even for one day. I invite you just one day this week to have a be day, a be attitude day, where you get up and go, you know what, I'm going to talk to every person I see. I'm going to have a smile for people that really make me uncomfortable, right? That's the best, right? Because you smile at them and inside you're going, teeth are chattering, you're shaking. But you decide you're going to have a beatitude day and just see what that day looks like. Like wake up in the morning excited to get up even though it's, 5 a.m. It's like, yay, the birds are singing. Be grateful. Be grateful for the day that you get to walk by someone on the street that's a little different than you, that normally you'd want to run to the other side of the street rather than face and look them in the eye. The windows of the soul, the eyes are referred to as that. It's interesting when you look in somebody's eyes, eh? You're going through the grocery checkout, and you're checking through your stuff, and you're looking at your stuff, and maybe you're watching to see the price that gets rung up. But do you look at the person in the eyes? Do you recognize that, whoa, we're having an experience here? What kind of experience are we having? Hurry up with my groceries, I gotta get out of here and get home and get dinner. That's a no attitude. That's a don't attitude. That's a me attitude. Let's have a be attitude and look at the person and say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, how are you today? My husband shared a story with me yesterday I thought it was pretty funny. He is kind of funny. Don't tell him I told you that. I hope he's not listening. He might be. He's telling me a story about when he used to date this other woman. Oh, you have no idea how many of those there are. I'll be okay. But and this woman that he was dating, she had a friend named Shannon. And one day they finally met, and they're sitting having a conversation. He and Shannon are having this conversation. And all of a sudden he realizes, we haven't been formally introduced. Pierre's good at formal introductions. And so he looks at her and he says, we haven't been formally introduced. He says, I'm Shannon. And she looks at him kind of like, wow, that's weird because I'm Shannon. And he goes, no, I didn't mean that. He says, I'm Shannon, a second time. And he's looking at her, and she's looking at him, and she's all confused, and then he realizes what he's done for the second time. I'm Shannon. Sometimes we're thinking so much about things that we actually don't get the message across that we're trying to get across. We're getting confused in the relay because we've got a thought about something, and that's what's coming out of our mouth, even though that's not what we intended to do. And you know, consciousness is creative. It's always creating. So you might be thinking about, gee, it would be nice if I did a nice thing, but then you go and do something else. And whatever you're putting out is coming back to you in some way or another. So what is it that you're bringing? Are you confusing life? Wanting to say one thing but saying another, and then wondering why life is showing up the way it is? Or are you standing up really clear, deciding that you as a broadcast station will broadcast love everywhere you go, because everyone and everything you look at is God? The trees outside, the flowers, those roses by the front door, are they spectacular? That beautiful rose is God, just as much as you are. Can you appreciate it? How many of you didn't notice it when you came in? 2 people? 2 honest people? No. What is it that you're missing in life? Bianca shared a story with me this morning about, you know, kids sending an application for scholarship. If you don't mind me sharing that briefly. And, you know, the scholarships come in, and it used to be that people were going, oh, you know, I'll go to university and get a degree and go make this much money. And now people are coming in going, I'm going to get my degree and I want to do this to make the world a better place. It's like, wow, that's really cool. A shift in consciousness. So how is it that you can make the world a better place? Because we teach that here. Are you in class? Are you taking classes? Because in class you start to learn the power of the mind to create. Because what happens is we broadcast out, and something happens with the broadcast, and it's returned. It's returned to us. Whatever we're putting out is coming back. It's like in the spring, you may have planted some carrots. And next month, when you go to pull them up, if you get potatoes, you're going to be confused. Well, then you find out it was actually potatoes that you planted. You see, whatever you plant in mind becomes your reality. So if you have a no attitude and you're going out into the world with your negativity and your upset and your frustration, if you're looking at things that are happening and going, oh, I hate this, I hate that, I hate the other thing, just know that all of that is coming back multiplied, pressed down, and overflowing. You got that? And we often have really kind of cranky days, don't we? And it's okay. Have a cranky day. Keep it to yourself. Be with it. Be with it. Recognize it. Allow it. And shift it. Shift it. Because you're broadcasting. Is that what you want to multiply in your life and experience? Or do you want to go out with a be attitude and bring that love? Like, how many times have you got on the streetcar and noticed the driver? Those of you who brought the bus this morning, was it a man or a woman? Can you tell? Like, do you know? And I only say that because I've done that. I've got on the streetcar and got off and thought, I didn't connect with anybody there. And it's not like I need to have a conversation, but if I look in the eyes of the people who are there, and I do it with kindness, with love, with compassion, I change the vibration of the room. So am I bringing light, or am I adding to the darkness? That's the question. We started off this morning with this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And we're walking around like we've got a dimmer switch. We've dimmed it down and dumbed it down, and we're showing up less than. Why? Because we're afraid. Well, if I'm too outgoing, what will people think of me? None of your business. If you're too excited, too happy, there was a streetcar driver, I don't know if he's still doing it, who would sing the stops. Do you remember him? Oh, it was such a joy, I never wanted my stop to come. Woodward, oh man, I gotta get off now. Maybe I could take it around the loop. It was a joy. The man brought joy. He changed the vibration. I want to bet that he never had any attacks, any cursing and swearing at him on his streetcar. I'm sure of it. Because he just brought this joy, this love. He was beautiful. I don't know if he's still doing it. Does anybody know?
Yeah, he was working in the Young and Eglinton booth selling tickets.
Oh! Here's your ticket, enjoy your day. Lovely to see you again. I mean, come on, doesn't that just feel nice? Don't you wish you could go into the grocery store and the clerk go, happy to see you? Wouldn't that be cool? It would be weird, it'd be different, but it would interrupt your no attitude, it would interrupt your complacency, it would interrupt your move through the day, and create something interesting. Like, let's create something interesting. Why are we showing up mediocre? What if, here's an idea, you'll love this. What if all of us leave here today and go down to Young Dundas Square and hug people? I suggested that once for real, and everybody went, are you kidding? In my previous church, we did do that one day. We went down and we hugged people, and it was wonderful to watch the responses, because there were people who were trying to dart across Yonge Street to get away from us. And it's not like we were being aggressive in it. We had a big sign that said free hugs. And then we get some other people who would just come running over and just about knock us off our feet to give us a hug. It's interesting to watch what we're bringing, what we're broadcasting. Are we open enough to remember that the person in front of me is God, reflecting back to me goodness and love? Or am I seeing the person in front of me as somebody to be afraid of, somebody to dislike? Am I showing up with a B attitude or a no attitude? It's just something to be aware of. Do you know who you are? Because I think if you knew who you were, you'd be singing in the rain. Didn't you just love the rain? Not really? Fascinating how we do life. We do it like it's an arduous journey that we gotta get done. What if it was just a glorious adventure filled with insight and excitement? Interesting people showing us all kinds of different things, sharing different food and different language and different voices. How cool would that be? Can you have a B attitude for one day this week? Who's in? Who's in? Show me, show me, show me, show me, show me. Okay, and for all of you who aren't in, I want the rest of you, you noticed who didn't put their hand up, I want you to have a real B attitude with them and give them all this love so that all of a sudden they're just knocked over by it and they're just going, okay, I'm going to be loved today. Be love. Show up in the world the way you want the world to be. A place that is joyful and exciting, fun and interesting. A place where things are always changing, so there's always an adventure. Where there's new beginnings in every single moment so that you can stand tall and proud and go, yes, this is something brand new for me, and I'm going to embrace it, and I'm going to love it, and I'm going to go along for the journey and for the ride, even if it feels kind of scary and frightening. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to give it a whirl. I'm going to stand in it and say, yes, I'm going to bring my B attitude and see what happens. My sister and I had had a long fight for years, and I went to a psychiatrist because I couldn't sleep. And instead of giving me pills, he said, go and love her. I was so annoyed. So I went back to work the next day, and I chose to love her, and the fascinating thing was instant healing. So my mantra now and always is, love is the answer. It doesn't really matter what the question is. So your homework is to be love, Do your best to connect with the people in front of you. If you see a street person, you don't have to give them money. Look at them and smile and say good morning. It's amazing what that can do for your day. And I know it can do something good for theirs as well. They're used to being ignored. They're not accustomed to people being friendly and kind. Take the teachings of Verity out on the street. And you know how you share it? Not by talking about it. Model the behavior. Take what Reverend Evans says in the classes that he teaches. Model that behavior in the world and watch the transformation. Have an attitude of love wherever you go. Change the vibration. Bring light into the room. If you go to work and you think that work is a dark place, well, be the light in that place. Smile, sing, dance. Shift them. Because you know what happens when somebody starts dancing in your office and you're not accustomed to that. First you think they're weird, and maybe they are, and that's a good thing, by the way, and then you got to laugh. It's like Pierre saying, well, I'm Shannon. No, I meant to say, I'm Shannon. No, you're Pierre, and I'm Shannon. Life is what you make it. You are broadcasting in every moment of every hour of every day. Broadcast the love. God bless.